Hey there YouTube, welcome back to another video. And completely out of the blue, I've actually managed to finish another division. After I'd finished my my British, I kind of wanted to take a little bit of a slowdown on the painting, you know, because I did do like 2 battalions more or less straight back to back, and I wanted to take. I felt like painting, but I didn't want to really go hardcore into sort of painting you know, my last 2 French battalions, for instance. Plus, I needed to actually get a couple of things in as well. So, like for instance, I had to order in a command pack for my 2nd battalion, and I decided to actually get that from Perry's, and hopefully, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that'll come today. And I also need to pick up some stands as well, because I didn't have enough stands to even base 1 battalion of infantry. So I picked up, I think it's a pack of 16 40 by 40. So that should be enough to complete my my French 3rd Corps. So here before you we have my talking about 3rd Corps. Strangely enough, this is actually the 3rd Cavalry Division. And these guys were attached from 3rd Corps and are the only sort of unit from 3rd Corps that actually had anything to do with the actual Battle of Waterloo. The last time you saw these chaps, I had basically finished the 3 units of Chasseurs de Cheval, and I was basically waiting on getting some horse artillery. And I actually got those for my birthday back in December. So, and I actually finished them off yesterday. So I'll just bring them in and I'll show you those guys, and then perhaps I'll give you a closer in look of the whole division. So here we go. We have a battery of howitzers and I believe it's 6. It's meant to represent 6 pounders and 2 howitzers. And what I decided to do for these guys is actually have 1 cannon and 1 howitzer to represent the battery, and that way I've got a little bit of difference out of the positions of the guys, because I believe most Perry's cannons come with the same. You know, there's only one option. You know, you can either have them loading, or I think there's a loading and a firing for both, but they basically use the same crew. So it was a case of, you know, do I get 2 6-pounders and have exactly the same crew, or do I get plus I needed to get a howitzer anyway, or do I get 2 6-pounders and 2 howitzers and have 2 batteries representing 1 battery? It was kind of a throw up, and I thought in the end, well, I think what I'll do is I'll mix them together, and I'll have a battery of 1 howitzer and 1 6-pounder, and then also if I do want to break the norm, then I can, you know, I can basically proxy them in as whatever I want. So let's start bringing these guys in, and I'll give you a sort of closer look at them. So here we go. This is, of course, like I just said, Perry's. Now, I didn't have an officer figure handy for these guys, even though I did have a spare foot officer. Obviously, these guys are horse artillery, so I didn't really want to put a foot officer on a horse artillery base. So I decided to just go for the basic crew on the bases, thinking that perhaps the officer would be mounted and therefore actually not in the actual sort of vignette of the stand. So the officer's there, but you just can't see him, sort of thing. Nice model. Basically the same cannon chassis for the for both guns. Just the difference of the actual the barrel. And this one is preparing to fire, I believe. So we've basically got all the crew in position. The loader just moving off to the side. He'll go to sort of a similar sort of position to this guy, just by the wheel, and then they'll literally just wait for. He's just primed the firing hole, and the The match guy is literally just waiting for the order to fire, and of course that's dependent on this guy taking his position on the opposite side of the wheel there. But yeah, quite a nice model, I must admit. Pretty quick to paint. Horse artillery are more or less exactly the same as foot artillery, with the only difference really being slightly different webbing or strapping, and of course wearing sort of cavalry sabres rather than bayonets, basically. So that is the 5.5 inch howitzer, and I have actually got the information on these guys. These guys are the 4th Company, 2nd Horse Artillery Regiment, led by Captain Dumont, and of course 3rd Cavalry Division, 3rd Corps. So that is the 5.5 howitzer. And then the 6-pounder. And this 6-pounder, I believe, is being aimed. So these guys are literally, they've just loaded it up, and the aimer or the officer, the NCO who's in command of the battery, is just making final adjustments on the aim. And these two chaps will then take their positions by the sides of the wheels, and then they'll be ready to fire. But again, nice, very nice model. I do like Perry's guns actually. I mean, they've crept up in price a little bit, by like sort of 50p or whatever it is. But I think they're still pretty good value in comparison to some other guns that are on the market. I mean, Victrix are pretty good, but unless you want 3 guns, paying 25 odd quid for 3 guns is a little bit steep. And plus you can't get horse artillery, of course. And the only other real choice was Front Rank, and they didn't have any modern or 1815 style horse artillery crew figures. And Foundry, they have actually got a set of, I believe they have anyway. I think they have. I haven't been on the site for a while, but I think when I was researching these guys, getting the guns in the first place, I did actually come across the fact that they do actually have a crew of horse artillery in a similar sort of vein to their foot artillery, which is a really nice set actually. And maybe if I I don't think I might possibly have another battery of horse artillery to do in the far future, when I do my 2nd French Cavalry Division. They'll probably have I'll probably get one of those the Foundry crews in and just get a Foundry gun. But of course they are a little bit on the pricey side, because I think that'll be the best part of including postage, probably around about the sort of £21 mark. So these at £9.50 is a pretty good deal. But yeah, very happy with how these guns turned out. And you can see I went for the sort of maybe sort of the outskirts of a forest, or just on sort of, perhaps it's like an overgrown path, or could be all sorts of stuff. But it's quite nice. It's basically my forest basing, but I've taken out a lot of the sort of bigger bits of debris that are on the floor. So it's basically like more or less just the dirt and the and small sort of fodder. Of course, a few grass tufts and the odd sprouted flowers. Yeah, so that is the 6-pounder horse artillery. And again, painted up really well. No real difficulties at all. And yeah, very happy with them. So, just to sort of finish off now, I'll give you a quick overview of the entire division. So I'll move the green out of the way, and move the camera a little bit closer. As you also can see, that I'm actually on my gaming table at the moment. A couple of days ago, I managed to finish off I was having a massive battle of Halo fleet battles, and with practically I decided to use like more or less every ship base that I had. and it was a massive battle, and it took me a long time to complete. It got to the point where I was just kind of playing a little bit, like maybe 2 or 3 times a week, so that the actual table was up for probably about 6 weeks, and it kind of, you could tell it was, because there was actually like a layer of dust on the gaming mat. But so I finished that up, packed it all away, took it back into my painting room, and decided to bring the grass mat in, which I thought, well, maybe I might get motivated to perhaps have a some kind of Napoleonic battle report, and I might have a maybe a small game of Black Powder, just to sort of remind myself of the rules, and then of course I might have a few games of Leon T66's Napoleonic rules, so I can get used to it for when I actually decide to do a proper YouTube battle report again. Because I've been sort of heavily thinking about how I'm going to do it this time, and I think I'm sort of coming to a happy medium of how I'm going to handle it this time. Although obviously my plans for recruiting somebody to do the filming for me may well go down the pan now, with all this pandemic virus balls that's going around. Of course, I'm kind of somewhat vulnerable because I've got like scarred lungs, so I have to be, I'm basically housebound. I'm not going anywhere. And even though I spend massive amounts of time on my own anyway, there's nothing worse than spending time on your own normally, and then being forced to spend time on your own, but missing out what little human contact I do actually have. I may not go stir crazy yet, but it'll come. Anyway, back to more cheerful things. Very happy that I've finished another division. Like I say, it didn't really click in my mind that when I finished them. But I'll just give you a quick look at the different units. This guy is a temporary brigade commander for them at the moment. As you can see, it's an infantry officer, so chances are that he wouldn't really be there. But it's a nice figure, and I can certainly make use for him when I finally replace him. I'll be on the sort of lookout for maybe some kind of cavalry type commander to take his place as the brigade commander. But nice figure all the same, and he'll do for now. And this chap is, let's put the base up for a second. So Major Baron C.H. de Manga. There we go. And it's 3rd Cavalry Corps with their 1st and 2nd brigades, and of course the quite small brigades, these guys. So basically these 2 units here are the 1st Brigade, and we'll just move the cannons out of the way, and I'll bring. So let's go with these guys first. If I can bring them in. There we go. So here we go. So these guys are the 9th Chasseurs de Cheval, and they're led by Colonel Baron Ducamon. And these are Perry's. Are they Perry's? Yes, they're Perry's. These are Perry's Chasseurs de Cheval, and I must admit I was very impressed with them. I almost wish that I had got 2 boxes of them rather than originally buying an extra box of Warlord. Nice, really nice. I do rate the Perry Chasseurs de Cheval, and I'll just kind of bring. Accidentally snapped the camera shut there. I'll just bring you in, and I won't go through them, but I'll just try and zoom the camera in a little bit, just to give you a sort of a closer look at them. So there we go. GMB flag, of course. Here. And you can see that they've got like pink facings, these guys. And yeah, quite a nice looking unit. I must admit I was a little bit dubious when I read that they had a pink facings unit, but luckily I came across that Vallejo pink, which is actually a great colour, and actually turned out a lot better than I thought. So that is the 9th. Then we have the 2nd Regiment in the 1st Brigade, which are these boys here, and these are the, is it the 4th? Yeah, the 4th Chasseurs de Cheval, and they're led by Colonel Baron de Michaels, and these guys are Warlord. And I probably have mentioned this story before, but this horse is terrible. It's basically, it had a really ugly piece of sprue holding up its front hoof as a support, and it was normally, with those sort of things, they're normally modelled to be like a piece of grass or something, and they normally cover them over with like flock or whatever. But in this case, it was not only quite tall, but also, like I say, a really ugly casting. So it, no matter what I would have done, it never would have looked like anything natural. So I decided to remove it, thinking that if I remove that, then surely the horse will have enough strength in its back legs to be able to keep itself in its sort of slightly raised stance. But no, I came back a few days later, and the horse had basically bent right the way forward down to the ground. And after many attempts at righting it back up to see if, pushing it a little bit further back up to see if it had a balance point, just kept falling down, up, down, up, down. I was starting to get worried about the integrity of the actual back legs. So I actually put this rock down, and I actually super glued the hoof to that rock as a support, and that seems to have done the job. But I had a horrible time sorting that one out. But quite a nice officer figure, I suppose. I believe he is metal, and the horse is obviously metal, and the bugler, of course, he's, I believe, is he plastic? I think he's plastic. Maybe his trumpet arm could be metal, not 100% sure. But yeah, nice yellow facings, these boys. And just give you a quick look at the flag for these guys. Again, GMB, I believe. Actually, these two came in the same pack. Actually, thinking about it, I think all three came in the same pack, actually. So when you buy the flag pack for Cavalry, I think you get 3 flags, because they're like smaller. But yeah, that's those. And then finally, oh, that's something actually. The Perry's Chasseurs de Cheval didn't come with a standard, so I ended up using one of the Vectrix infantry standard arms, which worked out brilliant actually. So I recommend you do that if you pick up a box of Chasseurs de Cheval from Perry's. So that's just a quick little info snippet there. And then finally we go to the 2nd Brigade, and then these guys are my 3rd unit of Chasseurs de Cheval, and they're actually the first ones that I did, because they actually originate from my original Waterloo starter set. And these guys are the, I keep forgetting them, the 12th Chasseurs de Cheval. And as you can, well, probably most of you probably do know that when you buy the command, the Waterloo box set, about the only sort of bad thing about it is that you don't get any command figures in it. And at the time, I hadn't really, because obviously this was around the sort of time. I'm trying to think back. I think I did this. I think this was my first French unit I ever did. So I had like no experience of buying figures from other companies, and so I basically converted a few figures into my own command. And so I think originally the standard bearer in this unit, because this guy is also a Victrix arm, Originally I made my own out of a spear, and I sort of made my own eagle out of Vallejo plastic putty. But it was like quite oversized and quite ugly. So I think I've revisited these guys like twice and did updates on them. And I think the main updates were I changed the standard arm, I changed the officer's arm to a Perry's arm because it was like a unique sculpt for these guys. I used a Victrix bugle arm to give them a bugle, and a couple of spare Perry's heads and a little bit of snipping and snapping to plop some elite company heads onto the first company because I actually didn't really realise that the elite company would be like the first unit of the regiment. So these guys are at a state now where I'm really quite happy with them, and yeah, I'm just as happy with these guys now as I was with my with the other two units. So yeah, that is the 12th, I think. Yeah, 12th, and that is the end of this video. Like I say, just waiting for supplies to come in through the post. Hopefully they'll come today. But I heard the postman, and I think my Perry's might have come. So that's a good start. It doesn't look like my bases have come yet. Well, it could be my bases instead of Perry. So one of them has arrived anyway. So I suppose hopefully my next project will be the start of my final 2 units of French for my 3rd Corps. And I'll just bring in the brigade commander and the artillery piece again, just to finish off. And yeah, I think I've managed to get 3 more subscribers out of the blue. So thank you to those guys. Hope you enjoy the coming content, and been watching all your videos and enjoying them. And of course, with all this lockdown and stuff, we've all got a lot more time to properly watch videos. Not that I'm I'm exactly worked out for time, but you can only take so much YouTube watching in a day. But yeah, I've been enjoying your videos, and I'll catch you all next time. So until then, bye bye.